Okay, so the topic we chose is the boreal forest change under climate warnings, and that is covered in Chapter 20, Biomes, in the textbook. So, brief introduction. Boreal forests are known as taiga, covers most of the northern part, like of the hemispheres, Canada, Alaska, and Russia. It is one of the major biomes covered with coniferous trees, such as pines and spruces, and these specifically adapt to cold climates and long winters. The forest plays a critical role in carbon storage, therefore having major global significance.
What will we be covering today is wildfires, pest outbreaks, and permafrost linkages, and permafrost and greenhouse gases.
So, although wildfires may seem like a destructive occurrence, it is actually a natural and essential part of the ecological process. In boreal forests, wildfires are often started by lightning with storms. This causes old, potentially harmful trees to burn without excess litter. This helps regenerate forests. And the shape, the patterns, and the composition of forests is formed through the aftermath of the fires. This restores nutrients and open spaces will allow for essential and newer organisms to grow. Fire also affects carbon cycling, exchange through biosphere and atmospheres, and this manipulates the climates.
The next topic we have is pest outbreaks. So pest outbreaks in boreal forests are mainly caused by insects like budworms and pine beetles. These outbreaks have always existed, but they're becoming a lot more common because of climate warming. Warmer winters mean more insects survive, and longer summers give them more time to feed and reproduce. They also spread faster because much of boreal forest is made up of the same types and ages of coniferous trees, which makes the forest an easier food source. Fire suppression has also created older and denser stands that are even more vulnerable. And when trees are stressed by poor soils or drought, they are less able to defend themselves. All this leads to major impacts like large areas of tree mortality, more fuel available for wildfires, and long-term changes to forest succession and the carbon cycle.
Alright, so next we'll move on to permafrost linkages. So the boreal forest covers over 1.2 billion hectares across Canada, Alaska, and Russia, and a large portion of this sits directly on top of permafrost ground that has remained frozen for thousands of years. Permafrost is not just frozen soil, it is the structural foundation of the northern forest ecosystem. It supports soil stability, controls drainage, and keeps the ground cold enough for boreal tree species like black spruce, jack pine, and tamarack to thrive in these environments. When permafrost begins to thaw, the entire forest system starts to change. As ice within the soil melts, the ground becomes soft and unstable, causing landscapes to slump or collapse. This leads to the formation of thermokarst, where once solid forest floors turn into wetlands, uneven ground, or small ponds. Trees begin to tilt or fall over, creating what scientists call drunken forests. These physical changes alter which species can survive. Black spruce, which dominates much of the boreal forest, relies on cold, well-drained soils, but thawing permafrost makes soils warmer, wetter, and less stable. As a result, scientists are already seeing shifts toward shrubs, grasses, and deciduous trees like birch and willow in some northern regions. In other words, the thawing of permafrost is directly transforming the composition, structure, and long-term stability of the boreal forest. The boreal forest and permafrost are interconnected. Healthy forest cover helps insulate permafrost, while stable permafrost supports the forest. When one destabilizes, the other follows. Next, we'll go on to permafrost and greenhouse gases. Permafrost is also one of the world's largest carbon reservoirs. It stores an estimated 1.5 billion tons of carbon, almost twice as much carbon as the atmosphere holds today. This carbon is locked inside frozen plant and organic material that has accumulated for thousands of years. When permafrost thaws, microbes reactivate and begin breaking down the newly thawed organic matter. As they do, they release greenhouse gases into the atmosphere. Two major gases are released, carbon dioxide and methane. In many parts of Alaska and northern Canada and Siberia, researchers have already documented methane bubbling up from thaw lakes, a clear sign of permafrost carbon being released. The dangerous part of this is the feedback loop. So basically, global warming, makes permafrost thaw, which releases carbon and methane, which leads to more warming, which leads to faster thawing. So it's basically like a cycle. Even if human emissions stopped increasing, permafrost emissions alone are projected to add 0.2 to 0.4 Celsius of additional global warming by 2100. This means thawing permafrost can undermine global climate targets and push warming beyond what the Paris Agreement aims for. Because much of this carbon lies beneath the boreal forest, the thawing of permafrost has global consequences. If carbon continues to escape from northern soils, the boreal region could shift from one of Earth's largest carbon sinks to a major carbon source, making climate change significantly harder to slow. And thank you for listening to our presentation.